So now that we've seen more about prompt engineering, zero shot, one shot, and few shot prompt engineering, so we are going to look at how to run this within code. And to run this within code, we are going to be using this data set from Hugging Face called dialog sum. Now, if you scroll down here, you'll see that there are various data sets that's provided. There's training, validation, test data set, etc. But if you look at the data itself, there is a dialog. So you can click into it and then see the dialog. And then there is a summary of what the dialog was about. And then there's also a topic about this dialog. Now, there are various topics and other things, but we are mostly focusing on this dialog and the summary because the task we're going to be working on is generating summary by using prompt engineering. Now, this is the data set, but then the model, the LLM that we're going to be using is FLAN T5. Now, FLAN T5 is actually a better version of T5, so you need to understand what T5 is. So T5 was built by using transfer learning, where a model is first pre-trained on a data-rich task before being fine-tuned on a downstream task. And you can see the T5 is an encoder-decoder model and is pre-trained on multitask mixture of unsupervised and supervised tasks, etc. So this model is already good, and there are various flavors of this model. There's small, base, large, etc. But then what people at Google did was they built this FLAN T5, which is trained on a number of different tasks as well. So if I go into the actual paper, you'll see there are instruction fine tuning, there's chain of thought fine tuning, etc. And all these were given as multitask instruction fine tuning, and it was about 1.8K tasks. And finally, this model was evaluated by using this inference data set generalization on unseen tasks. So they would give it this task and get this output. So some instructions were like, please answer the following question: what is the boiling point of nitrogen? And then it goes in a language model and then it generates an output like this. So this is FLAN T5, which was again trained on approximately 1.8K tasks to make the output even more better on instruction fine-tuning and chain of thought fine-tuning, etc. So the primary reason for this was fine-tuning language models on a collection of data sets phrased as instruction has been shown to improve model performance. So it's kind of like prompt engineering. And they found that the instruction fine-tuning with above aspects dramatically improved performance of variety of models, PALM, T5, etc., prompting setup, zero shot, few shots, and chain of thoughts and evaluation benchmarks. So we are going to be using this to run our prompt engineering task. So if I come into my notebook again, we can import this loads dataset from datasets module. And then again, we'll initialize our torch device if you haven't already in the above section. And then here is where I'm going to specify my data set, which is the dialog sum. We're going to download that and then put that into this variable called dataset. So this should take a while and download the dataset into your machine. And we can check all the data that has been downloaded. So within this dataset variable, there are a few things. A way to quickly check what is in there is we've already seen there is training and testing dataset, which is labeled as train and test. So we can look at dataset and then within that test, and then we are going to pick a random number. We are looking at the 40th summary over here, and then we'll print out the topic that it is about. So if I just select this and run, you'll see this topic is about transportation, and you can even print out the exact dialogue as well. So if I open this up, so you'll see that there is person one and then there's person two, and this is a piece of text that we get. And then this data set also comes with a summary of what that topic was about, or what that conversation between person one, person two was. So here it says person one is in hurry to catch a train. Tom tells person one there is plenty of time. So we can go and explore more of this. So what I'll do is I'll create separate variables for each one of them. I'll call this dialog one topic, dialog one, and then dialog summary, and save all of them. And then I'll do the same for, let's say, the 100th summary dialog as well. So we'll call this dialog two. And then I'll also bring in 200th dialog as well, and we'll call this all dialog three. So you can see what dialog 3 was about. You can read this and read the summary about this as well. So this is person 1 teaches person 2 how to upgrade software and hardware in person 2's system. So you can actually go through and read this conversation. Now we want to use FLAN T5 base because it's much easier to run on a local machine. So we are going to download this T5 FLAN base, and then run our tokenizer on it. We'll give it inputs and predict outputs, and finally decode the tokenized output, and then look at what results we're getting. So we'll call this model FLAN-T5 base, and then finally we are also doing the same thing, sequence to sequence LM from pre-trained, and then bring this in as our model. And finally, we are also initializing a tokenizer based on this model name as well. And we have these three parts ready now. So finally, we can give it an input. So to start with, what I'm going to do is give it the same dialog that we saw above. So this is the dialog 1 that we had. So if you remember, we have this dialog 1, topic and summary. So without giving it the summary, I'll just give it the dialog 1, and we'll see what kind of summary it automatically generates without any prompt engineering at this point. So if I run this now, you'll see this actually tokenizes the input text that we give. And if you remember in the previous video, we talked about how tokenizer works and how encoding works, etc. So here we are just tokenizing all the input words, or actually input tokens. It could be subwords, words, etc. And then we are going to initialize a model, and here we're just saying max new tokens is about 50. And finally, we'll also decode what the model generates now. So if I just select this and print this out, you'll see that the output that we gave is person 1, it's 10 to 9. So the summary isn't that great, but we'll keep on moving and then see how prompt engineering, one shot, few shot, etc. will help us increasing this summary quality. I'll just select this and put this in output, so we'll see the same output here. Now we'll move on to zero shot, where we give it a prompt, and we'll also give it the dialogue and then see what results we get. So here a prompt is going to be summarize the following conversation, and then we give it the dialogue, and then we'll say summary and then colon. So this is where the model will start writing its output. So again, just a refresher, what is dialog 2? So dialog 2 is all of this, and when I select all this and then select the prompt itself, you'll see we have our own prompt. Summarize the following conversation, and this is all this from dialog 2. And then finally we have the summary over here, and this is the prompt that we'll pass to inputs and see what result we get with this. Now when I go into the output now, you'll see it generated some summary, but then this is completely useless because it doesn't make much sense at all. But let me actually change this to dialog 1 so that it's much more easier. Let me run this now, and let's check out what output we get here. So at least in this output, we are getting the train is about to leave. A bit better than what we saw here without any prompt engineering at all. But this is still good. And we'll keep moving, and then we'll try with one shot, where we give it one example of how the dialogue and summary should look like, and then give it our second dialogue. Right, so that is what we are exactly doing over here. So there is a dialogue section where we give it the dialogue, and then summary, we'll give it the summary entirely of dialogue 1. And then we'll ask it to summarize dialogue 2. So dialogue 2 again is all this. So here people are talking about a scene. So person 1 is saying, okay, that's a cut. Let's start from the beginning, everyone, and so on. So this is, if we look at the summary of dialogue 2, we'll see that person 1 and Mike have a disagreement on how to cut out a scene. Person 1 proposes that Mike can try to act in person 1's way. So that's kind of the gist of what some dialogue 2 is all about. So now let's run this, and let me print the prompt as well. So you'll see, so there is a dialogue and a summary, which is all from dialogue 1, and then dialogue 2 is here, and then the summary, we are waiting for the model to complete this. So we'll give all this into our input, we'll do model generate, and then we'll do the output as well. Now, if I print the output, you'll see that two people are trying to figure out how to react to the cut. So this is a bit better summary compared to what we saw here when we gave this dialogue. So if I just give dialogue 2 over here and ask it to summarize, and then print this out, you're seeing the cut is over. But then when we give it the entire one shot, where we gave a full example of how to summarize, then we see a bit more content within this summary, and it's a bit more descriptive here. So that is all about one shot, where we're giving it one example and then expecting an output over here. Now there is also few shot, where instead of just giving dialogue 1 dialogue summary, you can go ahead and give dialogue 2 and dialogue 2 summary as well, and then finally ask it to summarize dialogue 3. So if we were to check what dialogue 3 is all about, so this, we have a blob of text here. Let me just go back up and then print the summary. So here the summary is person 1 teaches person 2 how to upgrade software and hardware in person two's system, right? So we can try what this gives us. So the summary, what we get here is person one, have you considered upgrading your system? Person two, yes, but I'm not sure what exactly I need, and so on. So it kind of does the job. So, but let me also change this back so that we are actually getting the dialogue one summary. And then for this few shot, I'll just pass in dialogue three over here and then dialogue three summary over here, just so that we know a bit more about dialogue one already. So let's see what kind of result we get over here. So the output that we are getting here is Tom is late for the train. He has to catch the 9:30 train. So it's kind of working where we gave it a few shots or few examples of what we're trying to do in summary. And then when we asked a summary of another new blob of text, it was able to generate this. So that was all about all this prompt engineering, and we're using Google Fluent T5, and we are generating a few summaries of the text.